Hi, everybody. Joe Cioffi here. Weather in 5 days in 5 minutes on this Memorial Day. And don't forget that tonight, the Joe and Joe Weather Show will be back at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. We will be talking about the week ahead and the long range, along with everything else that's going on weather-wise. Again, that's tonight at 7:35 p.m. And Weather in 5 brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. Whether you are a professional landscaper or a do-it-yourselfer, get over to Omni and get all the mulch and topsoil and anything else you need. 631-756-1125, the phone number, and the website omnitruevalue.com. Tempest by Weatherflow, our newest affiliate. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system and join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The a referral link is on the descriptor to this video, and if you make any purchases there of this or any other weather gadgets and gizmos, use the coupon code Joe and Joe Weather Show because you get 10% off. So here we are on this Monday, Memorial Day. It's been really a lovely weekend overall. Some places had to deal with a few high clouds yesterday, but that really was the extent of any issues. And this morning we have low pressure. What's left of the storm system that developed off the South Carolina coast is sitting near Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina early this morning. It's a lot weaker. It's cold core, of course. And in between that, we have a weak zone of high pressure, and that's going to keep eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England and points north in some nice weather. There's a bit of a backdoor cold front that is running across upstate New York and through central New England that is moving southward. That doesn't have any weather with it, but it is going to create a wind shift for tomorrow, and that's going to start impacting temperatures just a bit. Meanwhile, on the satellite loop, seeing again some patchy high clouds this morning over Long Island, central New Jersey. The overcast gets a bit thicker down in the Delmarva Peninsula, back through Maryland, Virginia, and into North Carolina. You can see even some development of some higher cloud tops in western Virginia down into Tennessee. And with that, we are seeing some areas of convection, a little bit of thunderstorm activity there in southwestern Virginia and western North Carolina that's moving southwestward. So this thing is just sort of rotating around. There's nothing in the upper air that's going to bring this northward today. The Northeast in very good shape. Actually, much of the country today not seeing a whole lot with regards to inclement weather. We have some severe weather risks to deal with, which we'll get to in a moment. But here's what the radar looks from that low in North Carolina. There are just a couple of bands of rain here across northern Virginia into West Virginia, and then a heavier band that's in southwestern Virginia, western North Carolina. And again, most of that is moving from east to west rather than moving up from south to north. The Storm Prediction Center today looking at a marginal risk of severe weather up in the uh, western plains, Nebraska, South Dakota. Isolated severe thunderstorms there. Tomorrow, roughly in the same places in an area of general thunderstorms from the western Gulf northwestward up into the plains, and then west from there into the Rockies and the interior West Coast. A little bit of activity tomorrow from the Carolinas into Kentucky, southern Indiana, and Illinois, and also in Florida. Again, a lot of this is left over from this pesky low that is taking forever to get out of the way. And then for Wednesday into Thursday, again, western plains for severe weather. Nothing in the Northeast and in the Mid-Atlantic states. And in fact, on the 7-day rainfall forecast from WPC, and this is going to start to become a problem because in many areas in the Northeast, there hasn't been a lot of rain this month. In some places, it's been absolutely minimal. And for the most part, we are looking at no rain being forecast for the next 7 days through much of the Northeast into the northern mid-Atlantic states. A little bit of leftover precip in Virginia from this low that's currently in the mid-Atlantic that's moving east. Seeing some generation of moisture along the southeast coast back down to Florida. There might be another low to deal with later this week there. And up in the plains, seeing some decent amounts of rain, 3/4 of an inch to somewhere up to 2 inches plus from north central and northwest Texas, northwestward up into Montana. The overall pattern going forward in the east is really being dictated by this upper high that is sitting over the Great Lakes and not doing very much of anything. We still have some lingering troughing. I'm just going to move back to today here, and you can see there's that upper low over the Carolinas. It just takes forever to get out to the east. It's got no way to move northward as long as there's some ridging from the mid-Atlantic northward into southern Canada. We have troughing coming into the west. And as we move forward through this week, not a whole lot changes really, but there is a tendency for weakness here, lower pressures off the southeast coast. So there might be another system that's going to try and form there later this week and into this coming weekend. But for everybody else, it's really about the higher pressures that extend from the northern plains into the Great Lakes and into New England. And we're kind of on the edge of a northwest flow out of Canada. So this is going to mean for mostly dry conditions for the next 10 to 14 days until we can get this whole pattern to break down. And it does attempt to break down later next week. Maybe that'll bring some opportunities for some rainfall. The other thing is, in terms of temperatures, it's one where it's not really able to get too hot for too long in most places. And in fact, there'll be a stretch where temperatures may actually wind up being a little bit below average, especially in areas that have to deal with onshore winds. So, as far as the surface is concerned, you can see today there's that low in North Carolina, just sort of sits there. The backdoor front with that high in Quebec drops southward. So we'll get a wind shift tomorrow to the east, and that's going to mean for cooler temperatures, mid 70s to low 80s today from shore to inland spots. Tomorrow it's going to be mostly low and middle 70s. You'll have to go well inland into Pennsylvania to find some 80-degree temperatures, and also up into interior New England we could see temperatures closer to 80. The same will hold from Wednesday to a lesser degree, but again, still dry. Thursday, dry. Will start to warm up. There's going to be a tendency for the winds to want to go more westerly late this week, so I think we have a shot we'll be into the low and mid 80s on Thursday, and I think we could see upper 80s to perhaps some lower 90s on Friday. Notice off the Florida coast, there's low pressure that develops there late this week. Models are handling this differently, of course, but we're going to keep an eye on things, and we'll talk more about that tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, along with everything else that is going on weather-wise, and that is at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. So mark your calendar, and we'll see you tonight.